Welcome to Filler. I'm Joe.
And I'm Steve.
Steve, why do you sound so tired?
Allergies, man.
What are you allergic to?
I've been dealing with this for like 2 weeks. It's bullshit.
Allergic to bullshit?
And the air, because it's full of pollen.
That sounds like...
It's been a rough couple weeks.
Do you have to take medicine?
Yeah, I'm like waking up every morning with like basically sand in my eyes and I can't breathe out of my nose, so I wait the hour and a half for Claritin to kick in before I can go to work.
Does it actually work for you?
Eventually, yeah, and then it kind of wears off after a while, but yeah, then that's why I also take Sudafed and antihistamine eye drops and Advil to reduce inflammation, and at night Benadryl so I can sleep. Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a straight up cocktail.
Yeah, but I spread it out throughout the day.
So we're going to be talking about 2000s Bruce today, right?
Yeah, and you remember how I said that Bruce's post-80s output is a roller coaster?
I surely do.
Yeah, you could apply that to just this decade. It's insane. This is his most prolific and wide-ranging in quality of all of his previous decades. There's 5 albums between 2002 and 2009.
I would argue you only needed 2, but we'll get to those.
Honestly,
when we get to them.
same?
Like
maybe 3, maybe.
I'd even give him like a double album for one of them, but I'll tell you my theories and thoughts when we get to
I
them.
have a feeling they're going to be the same. I think we'll agree on one of them. I'd like to see what the other one is that you think is worth it this decade.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Would you like to land that plane and introduce us into the first record of the 2000s?
I was... You beat me to it, man. Well, I guess I ended the last episode of the 9/11 joke, so never forget. Anyway, in 1999, the E Street Band reunited when Bruce Springsteen was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Important distinction, they were not inducted. Bruce himself was, because he was the recording artist that was signed to Columbia Records originally, and it marked 25 years since his debut, which was 1973. So, they joined him on stage, and they performed together, and it was their first time truly back since their breakup in the 80s and their brief reunion in 1995 for the Greatest Hits record and the extra songs.
Did he have anything to say about that? Because he strikes me as the kind of guy that would say, like, actually, no, like, my band is with me in this. Like, they should also be getting inducted along with me, you know?
So this is interesting. In the book, in his memoir, he says that he wrestled with the decision because he wanted to include them, and it would be a sign of good grace to bring them all back together.
Yeah.
But he admits that he let his ego get in the way and said, it is me at the end of the day. Like, I'm being inducted not just for what the E Street Band did with me, or what I did with the E Street Band, but what I've done, including Nebraska and Tunnel of Love and Human Touch and Lucky Town. So, and it goes to Tom Joad, like he's put out more records without them, so his induction was supposed to represent his entire career.
And yet they played with him. That, honestly, that kind of rubs me the wrong way about him. Like, I'm glad that he notes that it's his ego that got in the way, but did he ever rectify that?
Sort of. So Stevie Van Zandt tried to make the case to him, actually, to say, you know, we should be included. It should be Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. And he heard him out and he considered it, but ended up choosing to just keep it as just him. But in, I believe it was 2014. I want to say it was 2014. I think it was the same year Nirvana was inducted. The E Street Band themselves were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And actually, I think I need to double check this, but I believe no, they probably showed up on like live album recordings sooner. So like a 25 years from then would have been later than the first time like a Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band live album came out. So it probably wasn't that. I think they just got around to it eventually. And Bruce was the one who inducted them. Yeah, he gave the speech introducing each of them. And I watched the speech. It's actually kind of cool because he includes previous members as well. And this was after the passing of Danny Federici and Clarence Clemens, but of course gave mentions of them and talked about them at length, and also the original members that weren't in the band anymore, like Davey Sanchez and Vinny Lopez. That seemed like that was their burying the hatchet moment. I mean, they'd been together again for a long time at that point. But this is all jumping way ahead because
no. I mean, this is just me asking questions because it's
it is interesting though.
Yeah. Man, that really frustrates me and honestly sours me a little bit more on Bruce on like a personal level because I don't think he would have been as big as he was without the E Street Band.
No, he wouldn't.
I think he knows that, and his not recognizing that the first time around, like you've been saying all along, part of what makes Bruce so special is his live shows, and part of his live shows, or I would argue a huge part, because it's more than just his songs, it's them playing his songs and giving that energy, and for him to not recognize that first and only see the songs as themselves first, that's especially crappy because he loses a lot of the soul of his music when they're not there, like we saw in Human Touch and Lucky Town.
Yeah.
And yeah, that perturbs me.
I agree, but I also think that he has a point by saying like, well, I've been able to explore other things without them that are good too, like making Streets of Philadelphia, making Nebraska, and
but the thing is, like, he gets recognized for Streets of Philadelphia with an Oscar. I understand.
That's true.
I understand him getting the Oscar, not the E Street Band. Like, that is totally valid.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't have to invite them on stage for it. Him inducting them years later, after he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, it's a little condescending. Like,
well, I mean, that's also not up to him. That's the.
No. I mean him like literally being the person to induct them.
Well, who else was going to give that speech?
I don't know. It would have been more meaningful the first time around, but him being the one to recognize them once I don't know, the Academy. I don't even know what they're called. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I forget. Yeah.
Yeah, but once the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like, oh yeah, the E Street Band is also valid of getting the same attention and recognition.
I think it was a special induction specifically for backing bands.
Okay.
It's like they only do it so often because it's like a special category.
That makes me even sadder. He didn't include them the first time around. That's like that's a you tried star, in my opinion.
No, it'd be like I can't think of a good example, which might prove your point.
I'm thinking. I'm just saying. Like,
I guess
I
it'd
don't
be like if the Heartbreakers were inducted on their own for backing Tom Petty.
Yeah, but I don't think they have the same relationship. Like the Heartbreakers
Probably
don't
not.
make Tom Petty's music the way the E Street Band makes Bruce's music.
I disagree. See, I think Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers isn't that different from Tom Petty on his own, where Bruce on his own is different from E Street and has good stuff without E Street.
But what I'm saying is like, man, I'm going to come back to them. Like, I understand Tunnel of Love is good. Like, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on Nebraska. Human Touch and Lucky Town, without the E Street Band, are awful. I think they would have made those albums better.
Okay, but would like bad Paul McCartney albums keep him from being one of the first people inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Just because he's not with the Beatles anymore? You see what I'm saying? Like,
no, because the Beatles aren't a backing band. I don't understand what you're saying. It's not.
okay,
It's not.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, I think what I'm saying is, like, I understand Bruce writes the songs. He goes in. He's the one who strikes the deals. Like, I get all of that. But if mega fans like you and others, I'm sure, are like, you got to go see a show, Bruce and the E Street Band make it. If he puts Clarence on a cover that gets super recognized and says, I want to celebrate diversity and I want to celebrate my band. And then years later, he is getting recognized and he has the option to have his band recognized with him. And he says, nah, I'm glad he said that was like an ego move. But
yeah,
like, it really bothers me. That one really bothers me, and not in the way that his arrogance has introduced success to him and his band, in the way that he lifted everyone up. Him lifting up the E Street Band at his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction would not have detracted from the celebration of him in any way. In fact, I think it would only make him look better, because he was like, you know what? It's not just me, it's us. Mm-hmm. So I think, I don't know. It's okay if you disagree with me. Like, I'm not trying to convince you.
I don't think you're wrong. I just think I get where he's coming from and why he did it. Again, it doesn't make it right, but I think what he was trying to say was, at the end of the day, it is me that was signed and has made the albums with or without the E Street Band. Like, that was the point he was trying to make. And I think there was some like hurt feelings they were all still sorting through at that time, because there was some like band drama that, like, I guess they do not all get paid equally, so that got out between them. So that's an interesting thing. This is a whole other discussion, though.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah,
we have 5 albums to get through, but one of them we're gonna like glaze through real quick.
Yeah. So all right. So tell us about The Rising then.
Okay. So yeah, in '99 they get together for his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, and then they go on a reunion tour. They also release tracks. The '69, I believe, outtake compilation, basically.
Nice.
Old demos, yeah, I know you were waiting for me to take a breath so you could say nice. So yeah, it was like old outtakes and old versions of songs and some covers and a bunch of things on it. It's only really for the mega fans. I can't really say like any of it's essential listening, but it's fun. There's some classics on there like The Fever and I forget others, but there's like 70 songs on there. It's a lot. I believe that with The Rising, this was the album where violinist Susie Tyrell becomes an official member of the band. I think she was brought in to play violin and acoustic guitar and whatnot to fill out the sound on tours, but this is where she becomes an official member.
It's the right album for her to become a full member on.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, this came out in 2002. It was July 30th, 2002. So that was 10 months after the attack on September 11th on the World Trade Center. Bruce's reputation being, the voice of the everyman, or voice of working people. When 9/11 happened, he had people coming up to him saying, "Bruce, we need you." And he's like, "What?" And at first, like, he didn't know what they were talking about. And then he's like finding out info about the attacks and, going through all the same terror and confusion we were all feeling on that day. So he took it really seriously, in that he was like, this is the most significant thing to happen in American history at a time that we thought history was over. I need to rise to this occasion, but need to keep it in check that people expect something of me, that I'm somehow going to be responsible for putting the hurt and fear of the whole country into music. And, that's a lot of pressure, but because of that, he examined it from a lot of different angles and wanted to put together a mix of songs, some he'd been sitting on and some inspired by the 9/11 attacks. But at the end of the day, it all centers around that idea. But one of the most important things about the sound of this record is that this is the first one where they go to an outside producer, that Bruce and John Landau decide, like, we don't have the tools anymore. Like, we've been trying to make some records through the late 90s that just aren't sounding right. Whatever is happening in the movement of music and music production as an art form in new ways, we don't have the tools yet. So we got to go to somebody.
Honestly, good for them, because I would argue they were a little late to that realization. I think Tom Joad could have sounded cooler if there were some modern production choices put on there that were not blinded by the personal oversight of Bruce himself.
And I think they picked the right guy, and probably should have gone to this guy in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because it is famed Pearl Jam producer Brendan O'Brien. So he met with Bruce, and he was a lot younger than Bruce, but had a lot of the energy and ideas that Bruce was looking for. And so they put together a 15-track album called The Rising. And right off the bat, I always knew this album was good, but I don't think I ever really realized how good it actually is. I was a
Mhm.
little worried that it was going to be cheesy or a little too long, and it is too long.
It is too long.
But I thought like, because I know a lot of the songs on this already. I've seen him do a lot of these live, and I was trying to think of how some of them fit together on an album about 9/11,
Mm.
but all in sequence. And hearing him talk about it, it does make sense, and the sound of it is just refreshing. After
Yep.
like this is the first E Street album in or since Born in the USA, really,
Yeah.
and they sound back and better than ever. They're not too old yet.
Nope.
They're only like in their 40s or 50s. Like that's not
They
old.
surely get there by the end of the thousands, but
um, and so I was very very happy that this album holds up, and would like to know what you think as we go through all 15 songs.
I'm mostly in agreement with you. There are a few hiccups here and there that I think actually detract from the sequencing and from his message, and it's like it's too long. Like
Yeah.
my first thing was like this is the length of a movie. Like I watch horror movies that are shorter than this,
Hmm.
and they're tighter than this too, but
Yeah.
it does sound good, which makes it much easier to digest
Hmm.
versus his older records when they are overly long and the sound is like this isn't that fun or it's kind of boring.
Hmm. I think it starts great with Lonesome Day, with
Yeah.
the grandiosity of it, but it's balanced, and the strings really just bring out a whole new level to the E Street Band. It could teeter on being like a rim shots or fade outs thing where it's like, okay, we're overusing this, but I think it all sits in the mix well. I think it captures a certain sound that was both new for E Street but also classic and fit the time. As like in response to 9/11, a lot of people were really gravitating toward bro country, and I think this is a very good alternative to that. But we'll get into the real song that I think exemplifies that later.
I don't think the strings ever hit that level of being annoying.
Okay, good.
Even after this album, when he continues to use them, they just feel like another tool in the toolbox.
Hmm.
Similarly to saxophone with Clarence, similarly to Federici with the organ and keys. Like another flavor to add to the
Hmm.
songs. I still do have fade out issues, and I have a lot of issues that are like the rim shots and the fade outs, but the strings are not one of them. I thought they were awesome,
Hmm.
and I actually thought that with Lonesome Day is the first song, right?
Yes.
Yeah, with Lonesome Day, I thought he was like entering his adult alternative years
Hmm.
as an artist, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that like in
Right.
a complimentary way, like kind of in the way like this is gonna sound derogatory, and I really don't mean it that way. Like you go to the dentist and you hear like Lifehouse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can hear this being at the dentist's office and being like, yeah, Lonesome Day, like tapping my foot along, like singing along to it. I mean that in a really really positive way, and
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I think it bridges a gap between that and showing like they can still rock,
Yeah,
which is great. Like that's exactly the right place I think you want to be at this age and after having done this for so long. Now, I want to ask, because I had seen some notes you had about the next song, Into the Fire.
yeah.
I have a note that as a born and raised New Yorker, Joe can't possibly critique this 9/11 album too harshly, right?
And yet here I am critiquing it too harshly. So I do want to say that I listened to these first few songs a couple times because as I was like running through it, I just continued to listen to it, and I thought I can get further in my listening through the discography. So even listening the first both times, I had similar reactions, and like I felt a little reinforced. I thought his song "Into the Fire" was the dumbest sounding song for a song about New York. That is like
Mm,
me going down and singing. I'm really gonna try to like put it in the perspective I had here. That's like me singing a song about Louisiana and making it like, I don't know, punk or
Mhm.
like I can't even say
And
jazz
jazz
because
is the first thing you think.
right. But the thing is, yeah, exactly. But like why are you making a song about a city sound like it's from the swamp?
I think the reason is, as I said, like the the weird response after 9/11 in country music was to kind of like kick the women out and just go to like Brad Paisley and Alan Jackson and Toby Keith and just all this like Star Spangled bullshit. There's a great Todd in the Shadows video about this with the train record on Faith Hill, how she just kind of fell off after being like a superstar. But around the time of 9/11, for some reason, the response in country music fandom was to like gravitate toward strong American men, you know? So I had to guess, I think because the song Into the Fire, which is inspired by the image of firefighters running upstairs, literally into the fire of the Twin Towers, while everyone else was running downstairs for their lives. Give it that weird, like, slide, twangy guitar at the beginning and make it sound, yeah, swampy. I think it's to kind of use country music or folky sounding music that's pretty purely American art form to centralize and unify that, like, if this happened anywhere in the country, that heroes, the firefighters and first responders that went into the danger to save people, any one of them would do that, it brings back a relating to them where New York City is only one part of the country, and the rest of the country doesn't know it, you know? So this song, I think, is less about New York and is more about America and heroes in it, saving people in it. And it doesn't matter where in America that it is.
I think that's a super generous reading, especially because Nebraska is supposed to sound like middle America, but there's no country songs on Nebraska. So why didn't he do a Nebraska song here? Because he goes back to that Nebraska sound several times after the Rising. And there's no reason this couldn't have been in that same idea to match that like middle America feeling. Like America is not the South. Country music is the South.
But it's not, though. Like, you can make country music anywhere. Country music is American.
So that's the thing. I disagree. I don't think you can. Like I think you can make it in like Appalachia with like your banjo, but that runs like I'm not hearing banjos when I go upstate New York, but the further south I go, start hearing the banjos.
You'd hear it where I'm from in upstate New York.
Oh well, I guess. Well, we've had this conversation though, where the further upstate you go, the more like the South it becomes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think people have this image of New York as, you know, snooty and, coastal elite and, the libs and stuff, whatever. So to maybe give it that more Americana flair kind of makes you think more in the terms of like these just being Americans that were attacked and the heroes that went to go save them.
As a New Yorker and as an American, hard miss. Like there's such cognitive dissonance for this song that it's like I saw them burn like from my third grade classroom, and this does
Mhm.
not make me feel better. And I don't know if that's me in retrospect. Me as a kid, I'm sure I wouldn't even like really understand this at age 8, so I'm not even going to consider that. But to try to get that, like, I get what he's going for. I felt better on the second time around. I didn't listen to a third one because frankly, I just didn't want to. I did try to give it the credit where it was due. I did get chills at points where like the melody had the singers in the background with the full band. Like when it hit that grandiose level that he's going for, or that he did in Lonesome Day, he's striking a nerve there that I think is more universal than the twang guitar and those like truly not just the song, but like in general for this album, awful snare sound. Because this is like new metal ish time, and everyone
Mhm.
has that like really like Metallica, some kind of monster snare crap that's going on, which was a miss on Lonesome Day too. Yeah, I would love to hear like a different arrangement of this,
Mhm.
and then I might be softer on it. I'd love to hear him play it acoustically. I'd probably love it if it was just like straight acoustic because I think that'd be pretty haunting and chilling. Um,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
Okay.
You're trying to write about America, but New York City is the one that's hurting. Okay, like I don't know. I'm not.
I mean, yes, New York is the one hurting, but it had impacts on the whole country.
It did have impacts on the whole country. I'm not disregarding that. What I'm saying is that that's like saying I'm trying to give it a I'm truly trying to get outside of it, but it's like if you're gonna write this one, is there a song on the album that is truly just like a hey New York, yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry. Like there's no New York State of Mind song. There's just like America, damn, New York fell. You don't the rest of you really feel how bad New York is feeling it right now? And it's like
I mean, there are though. There's Empty Sky.
okay,
There's, I mean, we'll get to them.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
just ultimately I'm torn on this one. I think it's a miss. I think if he did it better, I'm not. Let's put it this way: I don't think he should cut this one from the album. I think there are songs that he should cut. I just wish he did this one differently, so I'd like it more.
Mhm. Okay. So the next song is "Waiting on a Sunny Day," and this is a classic song of the live shows. I once saw him do this where he brought up a toddler on stage to sing it, and the whole band like got quiet, and he like held the mic out to the kid on stage, and she sang it, and the whole crowd cheered, and he was smiling. It was a good moment, and it's just one of those like bright spot songs in the album where like recognizing like, hey, shit's heavy. We need some moments of levity, kind of remember to feel happy. Not all is lost. Not so much in a desperate search for happiness, but in like manifesting it, kind of trying to fake happy till you make happy, I guess. And it's just catchy. I just like this one.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I thought like it felt like it was a filler song, but I agree with you on the levity. And I don't mean filler in a bad way. I mean like there's like Dragon Ball Z episodes that are filler, but you're like, yeah, like this felt like I don't really need this, but it's here and I'm good with it.
Mhm.
I don't think it needed to be the length that it was, which is like something that he always like comes back to. It
Yeah,
felt a little long.
it works in the live setting for it to be long and jammy, but like we
Yeah,
can use our imagination. It didn't need to be that long on the record.
right. Especially because it this starts to feel this album. I think he starts to veer more into a pop musician element, not so
Mhm.
much a rocker thing. Like I think he's doing pop music through the lens of rock, and this is one of the songs where it's like I think if this was like under 4 minutes, like type 3.5, like I'd be like, okay, yeah,
Mm.
like just a pop song that's happy and pleasant and fine. I I can't believe he had to put like that organ pop on the second verse. Like I was like, man, just like let it be. Like you don't always need to do that.
Well, on the complete flip side of fun upbeat pop, then there's nothing, man.
Yeah, that
This
was
was
sad.
this is a holdover song from his attempted 1994 album "To Build Around Streets of Philadelphia." He ended up shelving it until here, until this album. He felt it fit better here in this context, and it adds some subtext about feeling strange and empty as things seem to go back to normal in the face of a tragedy. And it's cool how that works, that how he could like find songs that he's had from the past that were only about one thing, but then you put it in an album about 9/11 and suddenly it means more. I think that's a cool way to reuse an old idea and still, put the modern production on it to make it sound like it fits.
Yeah, I didn't even consider this as like a 9/11 song. It just felt like a hollowed out person, but like that
Mhm.
makes sense in the context of everything that's occurring historically.
Mhm.
I love this song. It
Yeah,
made me tear up. It made me sad. It moved me. I'm very surprised that he shelved it
I know.
because it's a fantastic song. Like there's songs that he should cut, and then there's songs that like should be celebrated. And this is one of his like celebrate songs. Like this is a really good, beautiful, moving track.
hmm but then there's Counting on a Miracle, which is kind of the other side of the coin to Waiting on a Sunny Day,
Yeah.
where this is like, how Waiting on a Sunny Day was like manifesting hope, but not being desperate for it.
Yeah.
This is the desperate,
Yep.
this is the desperation to like, that things will get better. And I didn't really need it. I think it's a little too long. It's got some bite to it, but like, I don't need it,
It's interesting. I thought the song was great. I thought it sounded
Really?
good. Yeah. This song was actually helpful for me in my Bruce journey overall, just because I think up until this listening, I'd had this high expectations from him. And I think a lot of that was due to your loving him so much that I was like looking to see like why is he so good? Like, why does Steve love him so much? And me trying to like have this like bar, this pedestal in my head. And so when I got here, I was like, I don't think this is a particularly impressive song. I don't think it stands out in any exceptional way. It doesn't really hit me, but it's solid. It's just like truly, utterly solid. That like I could see this being a single, could see it charting, and I liked it. I thought it was a fine song.
Cool. Then we get to Empty Sky.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
this was the last song that he wrote for the album. And it's based on a picture he had seen of one cloud in a clear blue sky. He turned it into a song about living with the grief of losing someone, either in the towers or in general. But the image of the empty sky definitely invokes the thought of the towers no longer being there.
Yeah.
You know, he repeats the message over and over again, but it's so minor. The key of it, the melody, just kind of beating sadness in you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. I did you like it? Are you saying that in a way that you like this song?
So you said something interesting about how you've kind of learned to temper your expectations for Bruce and just kind of let him be. I kind of have this. I've never really explained this about my love for Bruce. I don't really love everything he does or every choice he makes, even on the albums that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are songs that I love the idea of that just go on a little bit too long, or he repeats something a little bit too much, which he's never been so repetitive before until like really this album. It's like, okay, do you really have to do the chorus 4 times in a row? You know, like
Yeah.
that's the stuff that I just kind of have to give myself separation in my head of be like, I'm not going to hold this against him,
Mm-hmm.
but this isn't going to be something I like go back to. So I love the idea of it. I love parts of the song. I love like the general feeling of it, but I'm not going to like pick this song to listen to.
Yeah.
As opposed to like just not skipping it when I put on this album, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
But then you get to a song like Worlds Apart. And this, I think, is a really risky, but ultimately very interesting and good song because he wanted to include Eastern and Middle Eastern voices to show that 9/11 was an international tragedy, not just an American one. And I appreciate the attempt, but you always run the risk of sounding cheesy when you're a white guy who's like, let's get the Indian chanting in here, you know? And like, great example of this, Lives in the Balance by Jackson Browne. Great song, very strong political message, but then it's got these stupid pan flutes in it that I think is supposed to emulate like Vietnam because it's about like what's wrong with us going to war in Vietnam when nobody asked for this and it's just about American imperialism. And I think you thought you were cooking with that.
Right.
You know, by including this like, ooh, Eastern
Right.
flair, but it just sounds cheesy and terrible and like inadvertently racist.
Yeah.
So I was afraid of that with this song. Now I don't remember the names of the singers, but they are actual Middle Eastern background singers that like he handpicked,
Yeah.
researched, and was like, I want their voices on this, especially because 9/11 is going to lead to xenophobia and very anti-Islam and anti-Muslim sentiment rhetoric, like labeling them all terrorists. No. Let's make sure their voices are heard too, because they are impacted by this and they are going to get roundabout hate from people who are afraid of them. So I'm very, very glad that he did it. And it felt respectful in the way that he did it. And it is really a great melody with a great message about trying to unite people across the world at a time when international tensions are so high. And this is the song that I think really fights back against the bro country thing, because so much fervor went to like, yeah, America, like, let's go to war, fight Iraq, you know, like just this bullshit that, you know, got the Dixie Chicks canceled because they hated Bush. And, you know, it said like, shame on the president for taking us to war with a country that didn't even do anything to us, like went and using 9/11 as an excuse. And then they had to hide for 20 years and change their name to the Chicks. So I laugh at people who say like, oh, when did Bruce become a dirty communist? It's like he's literally always been a liberal, progressive kind of person, because while everyone else was saying like, you know, America first and fight the war on terror and you know, we're the greatest in the world, USA. He's saying like, does it really matter who's the best when we're all at war with each other? Like what kind of greatness is that, when what could really make us great is uniting with people and not letting fear and hatred get in the way. I don't know. That doesn't sound to me like a guy who was ever like not about that. You know what I mean?
Hmm. This hit for me as a global citizen in the
Mm,
way that I wish Into the Fire and Empty Sky hit me as a New Yorker and an American.
hmm.
I thought Empty Sky had a strong melody, but it was too repetitive, which I'm going to
Yeah.
come back to as we continue through the thousands. And I also thought the imagery in Empty Sky, because of that repetition, infantilized that song ultimately for me, which
Yes.
like took away from the message. Worlds Apart, on the other hand, is like a masterclass. I agree with you. I was worried about the cultural appropriation, but it's not. He's not appropriating it at all. He's celebrating it, and I hated that intro when I first heard it, and by the end of the song, I was like, I'm fine with the intro. I could put that song on repeat and just fall into the trance of that whole middle section and that explosion with that solo at the end. That just
Hmm.
that that solo rips you back to America in the way that the intro took you out of the West and put you in the Middle East and the East. You know what I mean? Like I wish he hit like that for me more often.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you know, like that. I think that song's untouchable.
I almost was disappointed when it became a rock song because
Yeah,
I was worried at first about the intro, and then I was loving it so much that I was like, no, go back. Like, why is this just a rock song now? And then, but it does all come together at
yeah, it
the end.
comes
Yeah.
together. I think if he made it just the one thing, I think that would have detracted from his unity message.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I
That's
think
a
it
good point.
needed to have that like America feel in it. And I'm not saying America, I'm saying like
Hmm.
him America kind of
Yeah.
feel that he does. Yeah, I love that song. I thought that was great. And I think it's very different from the next song.
Here's the weird thing about like the rest of the album from this point. The next like four songs
Hmm.
are really not about anything.
Yeah.
Or they're not really about 9/11 anymore.
Nope.
Because, and let's just do a lightning round here. Let's be friends skin to skin. As he describes it, it's a beach song. Very chill, very fun, very vibey. Don't really get why it's here.
Same.
Further on up the road, underrated rocker. I think it's one of his like stronger rock songs, but it's got pretty simple outlaw imagery. Doesn't really fit the album in theme, but it does musically.
It sounds like if Sons of Anarchy were a song to me.
I don't know. Maybe it's about moving on. I kind of think we already got that in a previous song, but okay.
Yep.
So the fuse is a weird one because it's got a very cool drum beat.
Hmm.
I think the long black line he's talking about is like in front of different churches. Or yeah, the long black line in front of different churches, I think, is a funeral procession because he saw so many of those in New Jersey after 9/11. But weirdly though, like I think this is about continuing to find romance and sensuality
Hmm.
after 9/11. I think it's like I think I think that's what it's about. I think it's him trying to talk about people trying to like basically get their libidos back after you feel like the world is ending, which is an interesting idea, but maybe not for a whole song.
If you are right, which I wouldn't put it past Bruce because he has some ideas that are just kind of stupid. Like, yeah, I see it. I think I saw your note and I tried to put it out of my mind because I was just having fun with Bruce playing in digital production.
Yeah.
And just like I was like, oh, this doesn't sound like typical Bruce. So like I'm kind of here. I don't really know. I don't really care what he's saying because he's just gonna say whatever he's saying, and like it might be good, it might be stupid, it might be vapid, it might be deep. Like he truly runs the gamut on all those things. Yeah, it made me wish that that we had a young Bruce in the 2000s, not one who was like entering the later part of his career, because I think it would have been
Yeah.
interesting to hear him experiment.
Yeah. Uh, okay, now we get to Mary's Place, which is very much like Waiting on a Sunny Day in that it is a banger party song, live
Yep.
show classic. So not all the songs on this album earn their length. We've been over that. This one does because it's got this amazing build up when it gets quiet and then the band is like saying, turn it up, and it gets a little bit louder every time they do it. It's like shout when
Yeah.
they do like a little bit softer now and then a little bit louder now. It builds so well and it translates unbelievably well live. This is a song I think actually that you know how The River was supposed to be like an advertisement for an E Street Band show?
Mhm.
Like that album, this song I think is exactly that. I think it perfectly encapsulates what an E Street show is like. Because as sad as most of this album is, and a lot of Bruce albums are, you're having a good time in an E Street show.
Yeah.
And that I think is this song's place on the album. Like of all the ones that are like weird and don't really fit, this one fits just for being that good.
Yeah. I thought it fit. I did think it was unnecessarily long, but not the build up part. I think parts earlier in the song is when I was noting it, which I can't place now because it's been a minute since I listened to it. But the build up at the end, I agreed, was fun, and I can imagine this like going on and being a fun time at a show. It's exactly what I'd want from a Bruce song in the 21st century with someone who knows what they're doing on Pro Tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's I'm with it.
Then we get to You're Missing. And wow, what a left turn, because it's another
Yep.
song about grief and loss and the emptiness you feel even when everything else is normal. So it's kind of like combining a few of the previous songs and their messages and doing it better.
Yep.
Like this takes Empty Sky and The Fuse and like the things and Nothing Man, like songs about loss and trying to go back to normal but not feeling right about it, and just turns it all into one great song, which kind of negates the need for others, you know?
Yeah.
And that piano break reminds me so much of Something in the Night or Racing in the Street. And then that organ comes in and it sounds really cheesy and it kind of ruins it for me. But everything else I think is great about this song.
I didn't even find the organ cheesy. I was everything with it. I was down for. I think this is the Nothing Man of the side B of this album.
Yeah.
Like even though there are some softer songs on this one one takes the cake. This is not a skipping slow song, you know. And those last lines were beautiful. Like the whole song was haunting. I love this one.
Mm-hmm. So 3 songs left and we get the title track, The Rising. I mean, it's a really simple song. It's very reminiscent of Lonesome Day. The songs are kind of
Yes.
interchangeable in my mind.
Yes.
But it's a great image of just the opposite of the towers falling is just rising, you know, like rising in defiance of it, and works well as like the theme of the album, the title track in the album's scope, I guess, like what it's all saying overall. I think that it supports the album and the album supports it in that way.
I agree. I just think its placement is wrong. I think it could have ended there. And if it's not going to end there, I think there's some moves he could have made with the last couple songs to have made it a stronger overall album that hits that note that he's going for. Especially like you're saying, it does sound a lot like Lonesome Day. In that case, dude, just bookend the two.
Right.
Start with Lonesome Day and land it with The Rising, especially as the title track. Like it kind of tracks itself, it sequences itself, you know? So I thought that was questionable, but I like the track.
I think it'd be a great way to make you want to repeat the album too, because it's because then if you start the next one and Lonesome Day is like Rising, then you're scratching that itch again immediately, and then you get into the fire again, and it's like, oh wait, where is this going? And then you just get to repeat it. But yeah, these last 2 songs are both really good, but I don't think I would have ended it with this, because this was way too late to get a song like Paradise.
Agreed.
Because who else during the era of the War on Terror would write a song from the perspective of a suicide bomber?
Yeah.
Like, and according to Bruce, this is about a Palestinian suicide bomber. And that's pretty fucking bold.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been going on since Israel's inception. It's all on front of mind now, but it's been happening for 80 years. So for him to like relate the general image everybody's got in their mind at the time, which was for some reason an Iraqi or Afghani suicide bomber, back to Palestine, it invokes an image of the Middle East in general and like different conflicts that have similar causes, and weird how we're involved in all of them. So this song, I couldn't believe it when I heard it, and then to hear that it was a Palestinian story for
Yeah.
inspiration.
I thought it was a great song. I thought the vocal melody was a little too like Sound of Silence, which every now and then
Yeah,
he
that's
brushes up
great.
against really famous songs in odd ways, especially
Hmm.
because oftentimes they're contemporaries of him. But
Hmm.
I thought it was a good song. I thought it was sleepy to make it penultimate on this one. I wish this came after Worlds Apart.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a stronger way to continue the album, especially because we could 100% cut Let's Be Friends. But
Yeah.
we have Worlds Apart that has that Western and Eastern flair and ends on a Western note with that ripping solo and then
Mhm.
dropping that dynamic into the sleepy acoustic guitar and the sleepy synth. And it's this somber, heart-wrenching song that we're slowly working our way back up to the rising at the end of
Mhm.
the album, right? Like that's where the sequencing could have improved, in my opinion, because where it is right now, it's doing it a disservice to Paradise.
Yeah. Especially to go into another ballad with My City of Ruins, which was not originally about New York.
Yeah,
It was about Asbury Park and how it's kind of falling apart. It's not the place he grew up or that he grew up playing music in. Now you could see how it fits here, obviously, with literal ruins in New York. And it's able to call back to the rising literally by him repeating rise up. And it kind of encourages the listener and the country that we will move past this. But again, we kind of already got that on the rising. I don't know if I'd cut the song, but I don't think I'd end the album with this.
I felt literally the exact same way. I think it's a good song, but it's not a closing song. And he loves closing on like three, or I guess in this one, two ballads in a row. And it's just like, you got to stop that. Like, when are you going to learn that that's not the way to do it, man? But
Hey, he got away with it on your favorite album, Tunnel of Love. He had 3.
yes, yeah, but that worked because it was like utterly somber. This one, he's like trying to balance that levity. And that one has a soft place for me.
I think this song should have been in between Into the Fire and Waiting on a Sunny Day. Because
Yeah, if it
like
was if it
in
was that,
general, track 3 is a good place for like a ballad or a sad song.
yeah,
Imagine going from that to then the hope and fun of Waiting on a Sunny Day. That's the
yeah.
answer it needs instead of ending the album with it.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because if he's teasing the rising with the rise ups, I'd rather him foreshadow them than call back to them because the callback song is not as strong as what he's calling back to.
Hmm.
You know, um, this song made me want to make my own cut of the rising because it's too
Mm.
long of an album, but it
Yeah.
is a really strong album in there. It's not like the River level where it's just like cut disc 2 and then like rearrange disc 1, you know what I mean? Or like patchwork something together. This is much more of a thing like you have a really strong message in there and I want you to deliver it better. And I think I know how you can deliver it better, and that's like where you got to like crack a few eggs and move some things around, including this song.
Yeah.
Because I think ending here, it becomes like, for me, it became like a Cheers theme song, which is a weird way for you to end an album that's kind of about 9/11. You know?
Yeah, overall, I think this is the last truly great E Street album, or at least I did. I did think that when I heard it, based on my past remembrances and what I assumed I would feel going through the rest of the aughts. I'm not going to say if I'm right, but I would say that this kind of ushers in a sort of generic era for the E
Sure, it
Street
does.
Band. It's
Yep.
refreshing to hear them again and to hear them with Brendan O'Brien's production, but where else are they going to go from here? You know, they're getting up there in age. Like they're a legacy act at this point. They just did a reunion tour. It's not going to be hit making days anymore. So, what do you do from that point? Maybe just settle in where you're comfortable. Maybe not. But we can't really wonder about that immediately because his next album is Devils and Dust.
Ah, he's continuing his acoustic album every 10 years.
Roughly. It's a solo album comprised mostly of leftover songs from Tom Joad that he
Mm.
chose as the best from those writing sessions.
So wait. It's the best of the B-sides of an album that was too long in the
It's
90s.
already too long. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
As well as some newly written songs inspired by his his new horse ranch in, say it with me, New Jersey. And he had this Mexican rancher friend named Juan he was hanging out with a lot. These are all home recordings by Bruce, produced by Brendan O'Brien, with a few flourishes added. This is known as pretty much the worst Bruce Springsteen album. And I went into it thinking maybe it won't be that bad. Maybe it just has that reputation because people always seem to hate his acoustic albums at first and then they become beloved.
Yeah.
To varying degrees. Nebraska much more so than Tom Joad, but they are still beloved albums. No, this album's fucking garbage. This is the worst fucking album.
I'm glad you didn't say that to me before my listening to it, because I disagree with you. I think Lonely Touch... yeah, I think Lonely Touch, both albums, are worse than this album. I like that he's doing this like every 10 years-ish thing. He's like, yeah, I just got some songs that I like slapped together and I'm going to put that out as an album. But I didn't hate it the way I guess all Bruce fans hate it, according to you.
It's not just the Bruce fans, it's the critics. Like, this is, I think, one of his lowest rated, if not the lowest.
That's nuts.
Other than, I think Human Touch and Lucky Town just have that bad reputation just for that era, and it's deserved. This is a very, in my opinion, like missed opportunity because he had something to say on the previous two Nebraska type albums, and this is just a mess. Like the title track at the beginning, Devils and Dust, it's got kind of a cool build up and mix of his solo acoustic Western thing with a full band and orchestration, but it's just kind of monotonous, and like the chorus just kind of always feels like it, like he's making it up as he goes. Like I really don't get the melody. And it seems like he's going to touch on something interesting about like coming to terms with faith as he gets older.
Yep.
Doesn't really go anywhere on the rest of the album. I thought it would be a great thesis statement if that's what it was about. But instead we get All the Way Home, which is like surprisingly kind of catchy despite being mellow, but it's like a bit nihilistic about the meaning of love and youth being wasted. I think. I'm not actually sure because I just kind of don't care.
Yeah, I'm zoned out by a lot of these things. This became like not background music because I was like very engaged with it and like truly looking at the lyrics and everything. But I think what you're saying about Devils and Dust trying to say something or like inching towards saying something is how I feel about a lot of his songs. So already feeling that way, getting to this album, truly, I felt like this is just more of the same old Bruce.
Yeah, see, I feel like this is just him failing at what he can normally do, I'd say more than half the time, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Some things I think just kind of work for you or don't.
Yeah.
Again, love Tom Joad, but it's too long. This feels too long from track 3, Reno, because I really hate the forced twang in his voice on this one. I hate that it's like, this is like fully about a prostitute, which is fine, but I don't want to hear him do that stupid twang voice and sing about fucking a girl in the ass.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that.
I think Sinners did Reno better.
I'm seeing that on Sunday. I can't wait.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, the main theme in Sinners sounds like Reno, and they do it better.
I bet they do, because you can't do much worse than this. Like, I guess it's about him using the prostitute to try to remember his lost love or something. I think I don't care. I don't need this.
Sometimes he has stories that just don't have a message, and that becomes abundantly clear on this album. I felt like it previously where he's like, hey, here's a story I wrote and I put a melody to it. Maybe I didn't put a melody to it if it's Tom Joad, and here's the song, right? And it's like sometimes that works because the story can carry the song in and of itself, and you don't really need a message there. And sometimes you get this album. And it's like someone should have said no, and he doesn't get told no, and that's
it's like George Lucas in the prequels. Who's going to tell him no?
Yeah,
you know, that's why they end up a mess like that.
So here's the thing. Before we continue, because now you've brought in the prequels, and this is relevant, like time wise. Revenge of the Sith just celebrated 20 years, and it's back in theaters. When Revenge of the Sith came out, I was 20 years younger, so I was 11 or 12. I had a great time. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
that was a fun movie. I watched it a couple years ago with my partner as we made it our way through the Star Wars movies. Still thought it was great. I think it's a great movie. I'm
Yeah.
down with Revenge of the Sith. I cannot see myself in what year is Devils and Dust? In 2005. So 20
So
years
same
out,
year as Revenge of the Sith,
right?
yeah.
I can't see myself celebrating this 20 years later. You
No
know?
one does, and no one will.
And I sat through Attack of the Clones. That movie still sucks. I sat through Phantom Menace. That movie still sucks, but it still has the novelty and nostalgia for me.
Mm-hmm.
That like this doesn't even have the novelty.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, I was even younger when Revenge of the Sith came out because I'm like what 2 years younger than you, and like I was like 9 turning 10, I think, when Revenge of the Sith came out. And yeah, to this day, that is still easily the best, or if you want to say it, least bad prequel. But I still enjoy it. I would say it's like, depending on the day, I like it more than Return of the Jedi. But
respect. That's a take. That's a, you know what? Cheers, Steve. Respect. That's a take.
No, yeah.
Like,
I think that's a pretty widely held take.
Really?
I think so. I mean,
we can't make him a Star Wars episode. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, no, we can't. Okay, you know what? Let's just get back to Bruce. Yeah, this isn't even fun to hate listen to. I don't really like hate listening to things. Sometimes there's like guilty pleasure songs, but I don't really like listening to bad music on purpose. But this next song, Long Time Coming, this is one that Bruce really seems to love because he ends his audiobook with this.
Okay.
He like sings it again because he seems to have captured something he was really proud of with it. And I can see where he's going for. It sounds like an E Street song, and it's about him getting older with a woman named Rosie, which I think is a reference to Rosalita, which I think helps show like how far he's come and that the family life was always going to catch up to him no matter how long he tried to run from it. So using the name Rosie there works. And in the book, he's really proud of the line that he hopes one day your mistakes will be your own, your sins will be your own, when talking to his children. And I get that. I think it's fine. Kind of sucks that it's on this album. But it's also not really special enough for me to care that much. But at least he's got something about it he really likes.
I don't even remember it. I said it was fine.
Okay.
So that's like, I agree with you.
Just default, like, I don't care. Whatever Steve says, that's fine.
I literally wrote fine
point.
song, nothing particularly special to me. What got me was the next song, Black Cowboys, which I said.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I thought it was the same song as Reno.
Okay, let me see if I have this right. Black Cowboys is a song about an inner city black kid named Rainey who finds solace in his loving mother's arms and learning about the historically accurate black cowboys. Then a flood comes. Maybe it's Hurricane Katrina, and it fucks up their town and even more so. So his mom starts dating a drug dealer who steals the joy from her life. In seeing this and feeling like he has no place at home anymore, Rainey steals $500 from the drug dealer and runs away, hitching a ride on a train to nowhere in particular, and that's it. He sees the fields of flyover country, and that makes him feel like a cowboy.
It's a batshit story.
It's not a story. It
It's real.
is, but sorry?
It's real? Like that's a real person he's singing
No,
about?
I mean, it's like, it's not really I can't find the arc of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of open to interpretation that at the end he feels like a cowboy. If I'm reading it correctly, that he feels like a cowboy because he struck out on his own like cowboys used to do.
I think that is the arc. He made it out.
We're going to get to a song called American Skin 41 Shots in a later episode that deals with black stories a lot better, especially coming from a white artist.
Yeah.
I don't get why he did this song.
Yeah, it feels very out of place, and these are the songs that I like from him. The ones where he stretches himself empathetically and he tries to get in the heads and the hearts of other people that are not himself. Like on previous episodes, when you've explained how songs were about him being in this head where he feels like he owes things to people because he's in this place of power and privilege. I was like, hey, you're getting it, dude. When he sang those songs on that song on Tom Joad about oh man, I forget the name of it. It was about the two soldiers, the American.
The line,
yeah. Like that song was great because he's stretching himself to make a point. No real point. Like I'm agreeing with you. I think the the arc as just the kid made it out and he became a cowboy. But what are you really saying?
I don't know what I'm supposed to feel with this one, and this I don't think is the way to branch out into like other perspectives in a way that I think is really constructive. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm supposed to take away from this, and maybe that's dumb of me to be like tell me what to feel, Bruce. But like I don't get what you're trying to convey here.
I think this falls where Worlds Apart and Paradise succeeded.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So what's missing is like why is this not working?
Frankly,
Because
the way
it's
I
just
was
boring
feeling,
to listen to. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I think it was not engaging, and that's what I was like starting to think. Like this is the style of Bruce that I like, and I just stopped giving a shit because he just keeps playing that same trick over and over again, which he talks about later on in a later song that we're going to get to, and this started making me feel like does Bruce only have diehard fans? Like I don't think I can be a casual fan of him. Like I think there's just people that are like Bruce, and then there's people like me who don't get it, which is the minority. I'm feeling.
There's the people who are like, oh, that guy that had those hits in the 80s. Or, oh, yeah, that I hear like some of my favorite artists really love Bruce Springsteen. Like that
makes me think of the Conan guy meme where it's like, oh, Bruce Springsteen. Oh, you mean the New Jersey guy? Like where it's just like this
yeah.
like very off the cuff, but I guess accurate thing. Yeah. I don't know. At this point was actually where I started to feel about Bruce the way you feel about Angels and Airwaves. Or the way I think you feel about Angels and Airwaves. Like I think he's just very one note in his mid-tempo story songs, which is a super wide net because you can do acoustic, you can do full band, you could do something electronic, something synthy. So like he does have a variety of sounds, but I feel like his BPM never makes my heart race, and his stories sometimes perplex me. So that distances me as a listener. So that's like the albums where Bruce misses for me are more helpful in my understanding my relationship with him as an artist. So while I wouldn't say that this album is an overall miss for me, and I'll get to why by the time we get to the end, I appreciate having listened to it, if more passively than previous ones, because I'm like, oh, like I get why I'm not into him. It's me being able to verbalize the way I feel about him beyond just being like, he is a rich dude who fronts as a working class hero. Like I think I'm drawing further and further away from that and being able to find the nuance in my feelings about him.
Okay, that is good to hear. And I would say to both his and Angels and Airwaves credit, and yes, I am going to say that.
Yeah, that's wild that you said that. I hope Colin McClutchy's listening.
Let's see if he's listening. If he ever brings us up, that we shouted him out.
Yeah.
Because then if he doesn't, we'll just let the years go by and be like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Thought we were pretty good friends and collaborators, but guess not. I love emotionally blackmailing my friends. So, I'll be honest, I don't want to go through the rest of these fucking songs. Like,
that's fair.
Maria's Bed, Silver Palomino, like, I hate the voices he's doing and the way he emphasizes words. And like, Jesus was an only son. Like, when Devils and Dust was kind of touching on the question of faith and finding his own path back to God or to something else, if accepting that there may not be a God, I thought, okay, this could be a cool theme for the album. And then I forgot about that theme until we got to this song, like any religious angle. But like, I think this song is about like Jesus as a man with faith in the face of what he endured at the hands of other men, all while his mother stayed beside him. I think. I don't care. I don't care. We had songs about prostitutes and horses along the way, and by the time we get here, I don't care.
Yep.
Leah adds nothing. It sounds like he's making up the melody as he goes again.
Yeah.
I wrote that I liked this one, The Hitter, but I don't remember why. I said this is a cool song. Oh no, I do remember this one. Okay. This is a cool song about an underground boxer coming home to tell his mother about how his childhood trauma prepped him to be a natural fighter.
Yes.
But to have this so soon after the Jesus was an only son song, I'm like, is this a Mommy Issues album?
We know that Bruce doesn't know how to sequence an album, so I'm fine
That's
with
true.
it.
He really does it. All I'm thinking about is a different vocal microphone. His falsetto sounds really weak.
Yep.
And then he ends on Matamoros Banks. The chorus sounds like his song Land of Hope and Dreams, which hasn't come out yet on an album, but he's been playing live for years. And we'll get to that also in the next episode. It's just a weak closer.
Yep. Which he's also want to do. I
Yeah.
think so. So I understand. I'm not going to go through each of them because I don't really have much more to say about it than you. The only one I do want to talk about is the hitter, because that
Yeah.
was the one that made me question my liking of Devils and Dust. Because I got there after all the other songs where I was like, all right, whatever, that's country. There's some fiddle. Don't care about Silver Palomino. Like, I
Mhm.
don't need another Jesus song. He like killed that way better with Cain Raised the Sun. You know, like
Adam raised the Cane. Yeah.
yeah, there, Adam Raised the Cane. Thank you. I got to the hitter and I was like, how do I rank this album? Because I think I'd like this
Mhm.
album, but I'm getting worn out on his bullshit.
Yeah.
And so that's why for me, I don't hate Devils and Dust the way critics hate it and the way that Bruce fans hate it. I just think it's like more of the same. But I think I'm going to come back to this album in the future more than other ones.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm curious about it. Like I didn't hate the opening song. I didn't hate Leah. I thought it was just boring. I did hate Jesus Was an Only Son.
Mhm.
All I'm thinking about is fine. It just doesn't need to be 4 minutes long. It's a blues song. Like,
Mhm.
compared to the way I felt about other albums, I don't think this one's that bad. Like, that's ultimately how I felt. Like, the River Disc 2 is worse than this album to me.
I I disagree. I think I can't find the gems in this nearly as much as I can in other stuff, even the bad stuff. Like the hitter really stands out because the hitter almost made me question like was I being too harsh up until this point
Yeah.
when going through the songs because I'm like but this is really good. So he could still be good
Yeah.
in this style. So why didn't he do that for the rest of it? I don't know.
I don't know, and I think that's why that's enough. That hesitance is enough of a reason for me to return to it with
Mhm.
fresh ears when I've had some distance from listening to his entire discography. Like I think I'd like to listen to Nebraska, Tom Joad than this in a row.
If there's one, oh, that would be an interesting trilogy just to hear them all. But
Yeah,
if there's one album I can recommend or highly suggest that you give another chance to, it's Darkness on the Edge of Town.
mm. I think the early albums falter in the production for me, and that's like a me thing because
Mm.
I was struggling with engaging with him through that time. And then by the time we got to the 2000s, I was kind of relieved with it
Mhm.
sounding so modern. And then I have more feelings about Magic and Working on a Dream after the fact. But
Got it.
the Devils and Dust, like, it just sounded like a modern Nebraska to me. That's a
Mhm.
little worse for wear because he's a little bit older and I think he has less to prove. So I think he's less hungry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get to Magic and
Yeah.
Working on a Dream, let's just quickly glance over this. We Shall
Yeah.
Overcome the Seeger Sessions, April 25th, 2006. The first Bruce Springsteen album consisting entirely of covers, and it's covers of old American folk songs. Recorded across 3 separate sessions in 1997, 2005, and 2006. All of these songs are first or second takes each. It's with an entirely new group called the Sessions Band. So it's not the E Street Band and it's not his 90s band. And it's all recorded live entirely in 1 or 2 takes each song. His newfound love and understanding of Pete Seeger's music and influence changing his perception of folk music made this a passion project for Bruce. Going back to this project throughout almost a decade because of the freshness he felt it had for his musical career, which is a wild thing to think when you are singing songs like Erie Canal and Mrs. McGrath and Oh Mary Don't You Weep. What about that feels fresh? I don't know. Look, all I can really say about this album is if you like folk, Americana, bluegrass kind of stuff, you might like this. My parents said that this was one of their favorite shows ever that they've been to when they saw him on this tour. Probably because they were front row and this was a rare Bruce Springsteen show where you could sit down. But I don't know what to say and I don't know how to rank it because it's so its own thing and not my thing. You know, it's kind of cool that I remember hearing these songs in like music class in elementary school at the time that this album came out. Or I guess I would have been in middle school by then. Or no, it was elementary. Songs like John Henry and Erie Canal, heard about those in history class and music class and stuff, like especially like growing up in upstate New York, learning about the Erie Canal is like part of New York history. I don't know. I think that's about it, other than the bonus track of American Land live. I think it's the only song from this album that he plays with the E Street Band, and I've seen them do it. It rips. It's a pro-immigrant classic, and it's something we really need right now. But I'm not going through each of these songs. Like,
Yeah, and I don't want to. This was the only song that I asked you to like tap out of because I was like actively pissed off I was listening to it because I didn't. No, it's okay. I didn't need to listen to him like idolize Pete Seeger, and I didn't need to listen to him be like Rod Stewart all over these like Americana songs. Which like I'm glad you brought up. I think folk music is more American than country music.
That is a good point. Yeah,
that's more how I feel, like to put that in perspective of the rising of that Into the Fire song. I think if that was a folk song, I'd be more in on it, less than a country song, because I think country is a bastardization of folk music. But neither here nor there. Yeah, I was like, I tapped out at "Oh Mary, Don't You Weep" because I was like, this sounds like a stupid
that was
Disney
the
song.
single too.
Yeah, I can't.
Can you believe that? That long ass Bible song was a single. I mean, it was fun the first time I heard it, but then I'm listening to it for this, and I'm like, this is way longer than I remember.
The whole album is a novelty. That's it.
Yeah,
it's just a novelty, and it's like this is a one for the fans. And what does that tell you about me? Let's talk about magic.
One for the fans, one for me. Yeah.
No. But I'm saying, what does that say about me? Like if this is not for me.
I don't know. Mrs. McGrath is kind of cool because it's about Ireland. I don't know.
I like
yeah,
Mrs.
let's get
McGrath. No. Because you brought it up, I like Mrs. McGrath. I thought it was out of place because I thought it was supposed to be like Americana songs, so I was a little confused by that. I actually heard Mrs. McGrath for the first time live when I was at a bachelor party last year in Montreal. But we were at an Irish pub that was like super Irish. Yeah, very weird. I don't know. But dude, funnest time of my life. We were all slamming Guinness and singing along. I learned the words in like 30 seconds. And it was great. It was great. So like hearing that, I was like, okay, I like this, but I like this not because of you. I like it because of my memory. And then, "Oh Mary, Don't You Weep." And I was like, nope, text in Steve. I'm out.
So September 25th, 2007, with the album Magic, the E Street Band is back again. This is comprised for the first time of songs Bruce had written from all over the world. So he had previously kept touring and writing separate, but he found himself writing in hotel rooms night after night on the tour for The Rising, inspired by the lives of people from all walks of life, many of whom were refugees. The goal for the album was to blend the political and the personal. It's starkly anti-Iraq war and anti-Bush, but it's also filled with personal stories. This was the first new E Street album I really remember because it was 2007. My parents were so stoked that they were stoked when The Rising came out, but then it had been 5 years since he did another E Street album, and they were so excited for it. And I remember really loving Radio Nowhere when it came out as a lead single, but I was a little worried coming into listening to this album. I thought, oh no, is this one not going to be as good as I remember? Is this going to be like a generic kind of like whatever E Street album? No, this album's fucking great. I was shocked. It was way better than I remember. And you do not think so?
No, I don't. I liked Radio Nowhere, but that sounds like he heard Gaslight Anthem and he's like, let me write a Bruce Springsteen song as if Gaslight Anthem wrote a song. Like through like putting it back through his lens.
All right, you've been whining about no guitar for all those episodes, and now here it is.
Yeah, all the way in his 50s, where he can't really play that well anymore. No, I'm kidding. He's playing fine. No, he's playing fine. He's playing fine. It's just like it sounds like Gaslight Anthem to me. Finally, like it's just like because that's when they started doing their thing around that time. I know he's not riffing on them because he came first, but this is 100% "Eat Your Heart Out," one of the first LVP songs.
I mean, yeah, that's
it's like the beat for beat.
You got me, Joe. Jesus. No,
I wasn't crazy about this album because it was like just basic radio rock, which is not to negate him because that's what was hot at that time.
That's what I thought it was going to be at first too.
Yeah,
but then I noticed how pissed off this album is and like anti-Iraq war that I was like, oh, this makes me appreciate it a lot more than I did. Like even Clarence's sax solo sounds heavy. on
It does, yeah, no, and I think
Radio
those are
Nowhere.
production choices, but I also think
Yeah,
you're highlighting a difference between the two of us as listeners because you're a person who
yeah.
deeply engages with the lyrics. If the music isn't hitting for me, I give less of a shit about the lyrics.
Well, see, that is how I am though. Like I won't bother
Oh,
with the lyrics if the music doesn't speak to me. I just happen to be for this diving into the lyrics more because
gotcha. Okay,
I want to get the full context when talking about it for the show.
I see. Okay, yeah, I thought the songs were generally accessible. I thought it was fine. Like it just wasn't anything special, which like harkens back to my feelings about him where like the bar that I have for him, I have to like not lower it, but just like eviscerate it and just like soak in what's coming in. I liked Living in the Future. It reminded me of
Yeah.
10th Avenue Freeze Out in a good way. It also reminded me of 57 Channels and Nothing On because it felt like
Mm.
it's weird to hear him singing about the future in 2007 as I live the future in 2025.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, it was just like very weird. I wrote that Living in the Future was the first miss for me because I liked Radio Nowhere. That was good. You'll Be Coming Down. It was catchy in a Radio Rockway. I'm not shitting on that genre whatsoever. Like, if it feels good to sing along, it feels good to sing along. This one missed for me the first time, but like reflecting on my notes, it's not really like a big miss in the way like I hate it. It's just like I thought the other two were better.
I think this does the river, like the fun songs on the river, better. I think it's like a
Yeah,
crisper version of that.
that's a good way to put it.
It's so fun that you'd never think it's about watching George W. Bush dismantle the illusions of American supremacy. I never
Yeah, I
would have
didn't think
put
about
that
that at
together.
all.
Yeah. Your Own Worst Enemy sounds like Darkness on the Edge of Town. Like I think this is about people voting against their own self-interest by voting for Republicans that are causing the exact problems they thought they were fighting against.
How prescient.
Right? Like the line, your flag, it flew so high, it drifted into the sky. Yeah, I think that's what it's about.
That's fair. This is actually where I start to get my new rim shots for Bruce.
And what is it this time?
They are the sleigh bells.
Oh yeah.
He
It
comes
does
in
come up a lot in
heavy
this album.
this album and it continues, man. Like it bothers me because I like instruments adding flair and flavor and texture to albums, but when you put sleigh bells on a song, it becomes a Christmas song. Like that, at least in my mind. Like they are so closely associated. And then on top of that, he throws a church bell and a chorus in this one. There's no way this wasn't a Christmas song, which is really weird now that you're giving me further context with the lyrics because it
Mhm.
just it's weird. It's very weird to me. And also the title now, it's just weird. Like how is this not a Christmas song with everything he's doing? But he comes back and he continues to hit the sleigh bells over and over again. And every time he does it, I'm like, dude, you don't need it on every song. Like it's like he found a new instrument. And he's like, yeah, I want sleigh bells on this one.
So this is my thing about tambourine on our own music because we just finished recording our EP. And
I noticed that you weren't a fan of it on Sunday when we were recording.
because I'm like, I don't want it as a crutch. I don't like it's a specific texture that I don't want on everything. I know it'll make things sound better, but if you keep doing it, some asshole on a podcast is going to point it out.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, the next song. Can I say the title of this song?
That's how I felt. That's how I
Like,
felt listening to it. It felt weird.
Okay, so it's G Slur Biker. Is that the right way to say it?
I don't even know. I think you're fine saying it because it's the song title, and you're not using it derogatorily.
It's a word that starts with G and rhymes with tipsy.
Yeah, that's a good way
biker.
to put it.
It's very much bashing the Iraq War, and I'd say it's the first non-repetitive song so far, but also the clearest what it's about. The repetitive songs before leave a lot of room for subtext, but this one just kind of beats you with it, and I think that's pretty cool. That like he's switching it up a little bit when he was running the risk of being monotonous.
Yeah, I thought this song sounded like "Resolve" by Foo Fighters, and I think it's just
Trying
like
to remember that one.
I'll send it to you later. I think it honestly just might be like the chord progression that he follows.
Foo Fighters is another example of a band that like they have a lot of skips for me, but in general, I love them.
Yeah,
Like
I don't think they're
consider
an
them one
album
of my
band.
favorite formulative bands, but yeah, they're absolutely a singles band, and I think there's only a few albums I can listen to all the way through, so I don't hold them in the same regard as Bruce. But I also don't think Dave's as good of a writer as Bruce.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
but as good of a concert. I will say that they were like
That's what I was
tied
gonna say.
for me.
That's what I was gonna say. I haven't been to a Bruce show, so I can't compare. But I loved the concert that I went to for him. I think that's fun about Foo Fighters because Nirvana, I think, is both an album and a singles band. Whereas you clearly miss something without Kurt and Chris Novoselic.
Yeah.
All right, girls in their summer clothes. He put sleigh bells on a song about summer. I just want to say it. That's a questionable choice. But I did appreciate that he was pushing himself to make something different. It sounds different. And it doesn't really sound like Bruce to me. Like even his vocal timbre was different.
This is one of the later hits. It shows up on like compilations and greatest hits collections and stuff, but it's kind of too late in his career to really call it like a hit.
Yeah.
But this is a well-loved song that I always thought was just like a fun, simple song. I never noticed what it's actually about, I think, is him watching the beauty of the mundane from a distance. It's like he's unable to fully interact with beautiful things. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, girls in their summer clothes. Yeah. Driving in my Chevy with the top down. Beach Boys. I don't know. I don't care. But then I listened again. I was like, oh, he's sad.
And that's where he works.
It's not just about the girls in their summer clothes. It's about them passing him by.
Yeah.
Not how nice that is, how sad that is that he's like aged out of being able to do anything with them, you know?
Yeah, it's an aging song. He's getting older and he's reflecting on it, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
It gets followed up by I'll Work for Your Love, which is like 100% a Bruce core song.
Yeah.
Like that could have been on any album before Human Touch and Lucky Town, I think, and it would have fit just fine.
I was surprised how wordy it is for an otherwise pretty throwaway song, because I swear I've heard this exact chord progression, song structure, tempo combination before, like maybe even on this album. But the lyrics are pretty and poetic.
Yeah. I appreciate that he got wordy again because, to be frank, like I like that about really early Bruce. Yeah. I like that he was throwing words around, like that he knew the dictionary back to front. I stopped liking it when he started rhyme with time. Like that's where he starts to falter, you know? But when he gets weird with fitting so many syllables into a phrase and into a line, that's cool. So it wasn't remarkable to me, but it wasn't bad. It was a fine song. Yeah. I do want to get, before I say anything about it, I want to get your take on Magic, the title track.
Okay. I'm glad we're taking like a pause for this one because I barely remembered this one from childhood, but it is so good. I think this song is a masterpiece. It's in like Tom Joad territory, but it sounds so different from everything else on the album and makes it a really weird title track too.
Yeah.
Because I don't get it. I don't get what it's about, but I want to. And like I'm enticed by the strings and the mandolin and the echoed vocals changing speakers. Like, did you notice that it was going from ear to ear?
I did, which was a very odd choice.
Yeah, and it's all like singing about like magic tricks. And I don't get what that has to do with the Iraq War.
And I think that's why I hated it.
But I'm not mad because I'm like,
very mad.
Because that's what a magic trick is. He doesn't give you all the information.
No, you're not doing this one on me. No. You're not going to find bullshit to make it into something that's magical and genius. He fucked this one up. This was like, this totally is 100% a miss.
Oh, man.
How are you going to name a title track and make it this? That's everything is upbeat up until this album. Though I'm with you on the digital echoes. I think that's cool. I think the magic tricks fall on the production and the arrangement choices. I think the lyrics suck. I think they are just so amateur. I could have written this song, and I don't think I'm a good lyricist. Like I think, and that's not me putting myself down. I just don't think I've done it enough. He could have made something so much better than this in the way that you feel about like Devils and Dust and various songs on that album, aside from the title track song. This was just like a dude, what are you doing on this one? And then also he put sleigh bells on it. Rim shots, man.
There's nothing I could say if there's sleigh bells on it. So.
No, it's not that. It's like it's truly like it's just like, what are you saying? Like if we're gonna hold him to the standard of Black Cowboys, where you're giving us a story song that we're looking for you to be saying something, what are you saying on Magic? You're smart. I'm smart. Like, what are you saying, Bruce?
Because Black Cowboys is a story song. This is not a story song. This is employing mystery. I think this makes it makes you wonder on purpose. It might not be about anything, and that's that's cool. You know,
I'm glad you think
to
that's
at least
cool.
make you stop and wonder. Yeah.
I think if you can't figure out what the magic trick is, you're only hoodwinking the audience. I think the fun part of doing magic tricks is being able to follow along the sleight of hand and trying to figure it out. And
Mm.
if you're really not able to follow it, it's like it becomes frustrating then. It's not really fun anymore. And for
Mm.
me, that's where this song enters that territory because there's things on it that I like. I could forgive the sleigh bells because there's cool digital echoes. Like I like that. I like the mixture of the production choices with what is more traditionally older, quote unquote, music.
Hmm.
But this one killed the vibe for me. I was fine with
Wow.
Magic.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, it's not going to be my favorite album, but like, I don't hate it. And then I got to Magic, and I was like, this is just stupid. Like, why am I here? Not Pete Seeger sessions level. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
a whole
That's a
variety.
different thing. That's kind of its own thing. It's hard
Yeah.
to really put into ranking, you know.
After listening to Magic, I felt like he had to win me back.
Did he with Last to Die?
No, no, it was a
Really?
fine but boring song. It felt like the rest of the side A to me, but the front
Mhm.
half was already feeling stronger because Magic brought me so low. It was fine. Like it just
See, I think this one, I mean, it reminds me of Further On Up the Road from The Rising, but it has
okay.
that great strings riff that like is very emotional. And
Yes.
I never noticed. I think this song's about apocalypse survival.
Oh, okay. I
That's
didn't catch
new
that.
for him. I think that's what it's about. But I mean, yeah, it's still got that same like repetitive chorus thing that he keeps doing as he's getting older, which is getting really old. But I don't know. It's something about that string rip. You give me a good hook, I'll forgive a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And that hook right off the bat gets me
Yeah, the
like
strings
in
were very
my heart.
emotional. I remember them. Despite this being like a boring song in my estimation, I do remember the strings, so that's fair.
Then there's a couple left. There's Long Walk Home.
Yeah.
I like that Bruce and Clarence trading solos.
Yep.
They're both great. Not a whole lot else interesting there, but
I don't like that he starts doing another rim shots thing, which is where he keeps repeating words. It's the same thing as Empty Sky.
mhm.
He it's just
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
it bothers me. He does it again on another song that I'll get to later. But like this is where I start to notice that like he keeps using these same motifs in songs that are too close together. Like this is gonna go down as the Sleigh Bells album to me. Similarly to
Wow.
how the Rising is gonna go down as like the grandiose strings album. Not that he doesn't
Mhm.
stop employing strings, but that's where like the strings hit big.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it was fine. That could have been a minute shorter.
The last two songs are kind of a weird thing because on the CD, if I remember this correctly from growing up, on the CD it lists Devil's Arcade as the last song, and then Terry Song is a bonus track.
Mm.
So Devil's Arcade kind of perplexes me because I'm wondering, is it about a soldier waiting to come home from a pointless war? Or maybe he's thinking about the love he's coming home to and his dead friends, etc. I'm not really sure, but musically and in its mystery, it works as a pretty great closer. I really like the full band arrangement there, and I think this would be a great closer that I would feel Terry's song spoils, but it was written for his longtime friend and assistant Terry McGovern upon his death. And it's
Okay.
very heartfelt and sweet, and it earns its cheesiness. I think it works as a hidden track. So this I actually think is probably a good closing sequencing idea, and that the album proper ends with Devil's Arcade, but then he has an extra song for a friend that he wants to honor him with.
It's more of an epilogue or a coda than it is a closing song. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
At first, I was frustrated because I was like, another ballad that you're ending on, because that's like your go-to trick. But I appreciate it more in that way, and I think that's something that we miss in the streaming era, is like those hidden tracks. You know?
Yeah. It was like what you said about Untitled by Blink 182, in that the live version of Anthem Part 2 being the last song. You don't get that that's supposed to be like a bonus track, or like
Yeah.
maybe it's only included on a deluxe version or something, like a deluxe CD. Like stuff like that gets lost when music that wasn't made for a streaming era just gets put on there. I think that that might have happened here.
I wasn't particularly crazy about either of the songs, and some of my feelings now are kind of moot if I'm like putting it in that context, which I I want to agree with you just based on the way that they feel rolling out.
Mhm.
I agree. Devil's Arcade feels like the closing song. It also, my problems with it now feel less like problems if I'm thinking of it in terms of it as a closing song, which I would rather
Mhm.
do. So
Yeah.
the only thing that I'd really want to know between the two of them, I appreciate you saying that Terry's song is a song for his friend, so it like gives it a buy for anything I'm really gonna say. But me not
Yeah.
having the context of the relationship and of that song being there, he did something in it that really stood out to me in a negative way was the Jesus, Mary, and Joe line.
Yeah.
And the reason why it bothers me, I know it's funny just because my name is Joe, but I mean, what really pisses me off about Bruce's songwriting sometimes is that it feels like he thinks he's clever, but it reads as cheeky to me
Yeah.
because we're both Catholic soul people.
Mhm.
Jesus' stepfather never went by Joe. Like he's
Yeah.
always been Joseph. So like you're doing that to like be cute and fill in
Mhm.
whatever your rhyme is or the syllable or whatever. And I get it. And I think I would forgive that on lesser songwriters. But
Mhm.
for him, it really bothers me because it's just like you're like, hey, you see what I did there? I'm like, I'm tired of seeing what you did there because you're in your 50s and I've been seeing it for how many hours now? Like
Yeah.
you don't earn the right to be cheeky anymore because I'm not a diehard Bruce guy. Whereas like I think like a diehard Bruce guy would be like, ah, yeah, I saw what he did there. He did it again. um, but I didn't hate Magic
Mhm.
overall. I know that you said you liked it. I ranked it like higher, I think, than other stuff. I didn't rank it as high as The Rising, which I
No, I
think
think The Rising's better.
you think The Rising's better. Okay, that not that you need to validate my feelings, but you saying that validates my feelings.
Yeah.
Especially because I of your comment about me hating a 9/11 album. I didn't hate the 9/11 album
I'm
after all.
kidding.
I know.
No, I think between the two, yeah, no, The Rising has it meanders a bit and it goes on too long, but it you feel what the point is. Where Magic, I'm just kind of impressed at some of the individual swings he's taking and how
Mm,
weirdly angry it is for a Bruce album. And that I think a lot of the songs really work, and I think it's the E Street Band really settling into 21st century E Street and working with Brendan O'Brien again, which makes it the second album of a trilogy that they did with Brendan. Uh, the third being January 27th, 2009's Working on a Dream. It started from the writing of the song What Love Can Do. It was a song that was written during the Magic cycle, and it was about love in the time of Bush, but it inspired a new set of songs. And instead of fitting in with the rest of the previous album, he just like wrote new ones that are more like starting to feel the open change of Obama. I think it came out before or like right after Obama was inaugurated for his first term, but
mm,
I think part of this was written amidst Obama's campaign and feeling the groundswell of like getting our first black president, especially in the face of like the disaster of the Bush era. But most of it was written and recorded on the road for the Magic Tour, and many of the songs were done in just a few takes. Just weeks after its release, Bruce and the E Street Band would promote it by performing its title track during their Super Bowl halftime show performance. Fun fact, My Lucky Day was included as a DLC song in Guitar Hero.
mm.
I know because I bought it. And the final track, The Wrestler, served as the ending credits song of the Darren Aronofsky film of the same name, starring Mickey Rourke and Marissa Tomei. All of this would make the album Bruce's ninth number one album in the U.S. and send it to number one in 8 other countries as well. And it's the last album to feature Danny Federici on organ before his death from cancer in April 2008. It also features the work of his son Jason on accordion. You remember how I said Magic, or how I said last episode that two albums have basically the same album cover
Yep.
back to back? It's this and Magic. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like a straight on shot of Bruce shoulder length up or shoulder up to the head. That I don't think is a good sign
No.
that, maybe the wells run dry a little bit. I had a preconceived notion going into this album that it was going to be better than Magic, that it was going to be like kind of a bright spot in 21st century E Street, because of the strength of the opening song and the fact that it did really well. They felt strong enough about it to promote it quite a bit. So I thought, maybe this one's got something to it. I was very disappointed with this record.
Yeah, dude, this album sucks. I
It
hated this.
sucks.
It
I
sucks real bad.
really, really, really was let down by this one because I remember Outlaw Pete and thinking this is fucking weird and I love it. And then there's not much else that's good on it.
So, all right, I'm gonna give you the weirdness of Outlaw Pete, which excited me that he's starting off another album with like 8 minutes or whatever. Because
Yeah.
like, I kind of hate Bruce songs that are long when they come at the end because his songs are
Mhm.
overly long to begin with. But I'm fresh at the
Mhm.
top of the album, so that's fine. I was thrown out the minute he said at 6 months old he did 3 months in jail. Get out, get out. This is not like that's just a dumb lyric. And so the rest of it, I know, I get it. It's like mythologizing and whatnot. I get it.
Mhm.
I just that pissed me off. I thought the song was ending at 4:23. Nope. Thought it was ending at 5:32. Nope. And all he's saying is, "Do you hear me? Do you hear me?" And it's like, yeah, Pete, shut the fuck up. I hear you.
I had the note. I think Joe's gonna hate this one, but I love it because listening to it, yeah, no, like it's 6 months old. He'd done 3 months in jail. That's really stupid. But I think it's just a kind of a thinly veiled metaphor for him recognizing his own myth as a rock star and performer and feeling like, and his repeating of the line, "Can you hear me?" is him looking for people to actually see him as a human being. And I don't know if that's right. I think that's what it's about.
I actually got the same message from you. Like everything you're saying, I agree with you, and
Uh,
that's why I wanted to like this song. And it just the stupid cheeky things that he does pissed me off. That's it.
but I think it earns it by the end with like this build up and like Clarence's solo sounding kind of like otherworldly. And I really like that at the end he's still shouting, "Can you hear me?" in the back, and it's kind of getting drowned out as
Yeah,
like Clarence's solos are getting more and
yeah,
more emotional. Like I love the buildup of it. I think this taught me a lot about how to be theatrical in songwriting,
yeah,
not just in telling a stupid story or a crazy story, but just heightening emotions through buildup in a song.
yeah. The dynamics are untouchable.
Yeah, I think it's new territory for Bruce. I appreciate the swing.
I think if the lyrics were better, I'd be more into it. Or better for
Mhm.
me, even. Let me say that. Like I see where the dips come. Like I get it, but speaking of dynamics, "My Lucky Day" is literally the same melody for 4 minutes.
Yep.
I hated that. I hated that
Yeah.
so much. It's a fine melody, but like it's literally the same thing.
Yeah. It is, it's got some energy to it. This is where it really tells me, okay, this is the Obama album because like after the bleakness and anger of Magic, like this feels like this where we're starting to get like happy again.
Yeah,
Also, there's plenty of Clarence on this album, and I like that. I like that we're
me
using the
too.
big man. You
I
know,
appreciate that. Yeah, I did really like all the saxophone on it. I did not like "Working on a Dream."
no,
Pissed me
I
off.
think it's cheesy, but
Yep.
it is nice to hear that he sounds happy even when acknowledging the hard work it took to get here. I always thought, even when I saw that halftime show the first time, I was like, yeah, I know he's got to do one of the new songs, but like, man, after 10th Avenue Freeze Out and Born to Run and then doing Glory Days, like, how does this song fit in with the classics? Like,
Yep.
And then, okay, Queen of the Supermarket. Say it with me, Joe.
Yeah.
Rim shots.
Yep. Not gonna say it. Not gonna say it. I didn't even
No,
write it down this time. I'm so pissed off.
this is where it really starts to fall apart for me because I think he's just making an overly romantic version of a mundane story, but it's not really working for me.
Nope, not at all.
I think it's just kind of dumb and unintentionally funny, and it's like still jarring to hear Bruce say fuck on a song.
I would argue it was more neutered than the first time he said the F bomb. Because the first
Yeah,
time it
because
was
at least it was
throwaway and there was
funny.
snark. Yeah.
Yeah,
This time it's like he's like, yeah, you heard that? Like, yeah, yeah. Like it's like, come on, man, stop. Like
yeah, I don't like Grandpa. Come on, get you to
exactly. Yes.
bed.
Let's go to bed, Grandpa. I have to say, the sound of the scanning of the items at the end was ridiculous. I appreciate it because I think it's funny, but it's very silly.
I kept waiting for it to like mean something more, and it doesn't. And it's
It
like, oh,
doesn't.
this is just about a dude that has a crush on the checkout girl.
Yep. There's a song by The Clash called "Lost in the Supermarket." And it's the only
Mm.
reason I'm thinking about it. It's because another supermarket song. It is so much better than this because it's catchier, it's more fun, and like honestly, there's some emotion because they're scared of being lost in the supermarket. Which, as a child who's been lost in the supermarket, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that you said What Love Can Do was a Magic song, because that's how I
Yeah.
felt. It felt like it could be any song on Magic, which I guess puts it head and shoulders above many of these songs for me.
Yeah, because it bangs. It's simple, but like the mixing is really good. And I don't know. I really like that one. But now I've got this weird taste in my mouth because of Queen of the Supermarket.
Yeah.
So when it gets to this life and I have nothing to say, it's just a skip.
That one
Like,
made me feel weird, but whatever production they chose, like the stereo imaging for me was like too wide or something, which like is me getting deep in the weeds in the music way. But like I agree, it's another mid-tempo nothing song.
but then a weird one again. We get Good Eye.
Dude, that song is cock rock.
Good Eye?
Yeah, that is
It's
cock
just
rock.
like a blues song.
No, through the lens of 12 bar blues. That sounds like a Nickelback song to me, man. Like if Nickelback knew how to play the blues, I'd hear Good Eye.
I don't know. Like he's got that like vocal filter. Like he went like really blues on. Like I don't see that.
I can't help but see it.
I'm trying to picture how, and I just can't.
I will find a Nickelback song to send to you that makes me think of this song.
Nickelback and blues are both formulaic, but in very different ways.
Yeah, that's why. And this is me saying like similar stuff about the radio rock of 2007 for Magic, where it's like it just sounds like radio rock to me, which is fine. This sounds like him doing like a little bit heavier rock that's basic. Nickelback do blues progressions in their songs. You just don't really hear them as much because they put the sheen of like the alt rock metal thing that they try to put over it, which is why it stood out to me on it. I think like the 12 bar blues there is much more clear for me, but I was just like, I don't know. It was very basic to me in a Nickelback way. Maybe it didn't sound exactly like it, but now I'm going to do a Nickelback deep dive to find one that supports that.
I mean, okay, good luck. You could do that yourself.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that with me. I'll send you whatever song I find.
Okay, because like I used to mess with some Nickelback a little bit as a kid, but like, and I did kind of appreciate their harder rock stuff, but I don't. I'm not seeing the connection there.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what it is you're talking about.
It makes me think of Nickelback after All the Right Reasons, which is when people stopped really listening to
Dark
them.
Horse and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can keep going.
Okay.
Tomorrow Never Knows, a Beatles
country.
song.
Oh, I thought it was a country song. Like that's all I got.
Yeah, it is a country song. It's just like I thought it was weird that he riffed on a really big Beatles song title, because that's a really good Beatles song. And
that's why you said. Yeah, I was gonna say like I don't remember it sounding like a Beatles song. Oh right, that's the name of a Beatles song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life Itself. I said it's interesting how they're trying so many different musical style ideas at the expense of almost any lyrical complexity or depth.
Thank you for saying that. So this is where I want to note, when you repeat something, all the musicians out there that are listening, all the lyricists, all the writers in general, it doesn't have to be a musician or a lyricist. When you repeat something, it's supposed to emphasize the point of what you're saying.
Yes.
I get it, right? Like that's the point of emphasis. When you do it on every song in a fucking album, it loses meaning.
Yeah.
Because if you emphasize everything, then nothing is emphasized. Why am I supposed to be paying attention to everything that you're screaming? There needs to be some more dynamics, and that's where it pissed me off.
Yeah, this is where I'm really losing it. It's like Kingdom of Days, Gip. You know, I guess it's nice that it's about him and Patty looking back on the life they've built together as they gotten older, but I don't care. It's boring.
I tried finding something good about it. I'm glad that it was a good sequencing choice, I guess, because it was like Life Itself had a very weird, complicated vocal melody, and Kingdom of Days was just like a basic Bruce melody. So I was like, all right, at least you know you're supposed to return back home after you get a little too adventurous, and you can't really pull it off.
Yeah, but then surprise, surprise is another skip. Like like you just said, like the repetition is just ear grating on this.
That song was as bad as the worst.
Surprise, a surprise, 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 a surprise, surprise. Like, come on.
Was that the one where it says like "Let the love shine in" or something too?
Yeah,
I feel
at
like
the
it was
end,
that
it's
one.
like,
Yeah.
surprise, surprise, come on, open your eyes, and let your love shine down. Like
that song pissed me off in the way that you got pissed off with 9, or we got pissed off with 9 for Blink-182. This was like truly the worst of him. This offended my time here on the planet.
Yeah. Then we get to the last carnival. I have 2 notes. one, gay acrobats, and then oh no, it's about Danny's death.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was a beautiful song, and then the choir kicks in, and I was like, all right, you kind of ruined it now. You did too much.
Yeah. Once I realized it was about Danny's death, I was like, oh, okay. No, this works then.
Yeah, because it goes with what Wild Billy Circus or something from previously. Like it's like like
Like a callback.
yeah.
Yeah. So the last song on this album is The Wrestler. I think it's a fantastic song, but after most of the album was happy and it could have ended with the tribute to Danny, we've got the two ballads in a row again.
Yeah.
And this just feels tacked on and doesn't fit with the rest of the
No.
album. It's kind of like Die with a Smile being tacked onto the new Gaga album Mayhem that just doesn't fit at all because it wasn't made for the album, I don't think. I think this should have been labeled as a bonus track. You know, it's got the tie-in with the movie. It could like move some records, but like this is a bonus track. Also, my mom and I always noticed this and thought it was funny. You know, when he says like, "You ever see a one-armed man, then you've seen me." It's like it's a repeated metaphor of like just a down on his luck person. But he says, "If you've ever seen a one-legged dog, then you've seen me."
That's
It's
weird.
like I think you mean a three-legged dog. I don't think
Yeah.
a one-legged dog can get anywhere.
He missed real hard with that.
Yeah, it's like that goes back to your point about who's going to edit him. It's like someone should have gotten in and said like it's like that who's that rapper? Was it Chief Keef or Lil Uzi Vert? I can't remember who it was, but had the line like she blew my dick like a cello, and then he wrote in the Genius or he said in the Genius video, he's like, "Listen, I didn't know. I thought a cello was like a
Oh my God.
woodwind instrument.
That's
I had
awful.
people around me. Someone could have said something, and they just didn't."
Yeah.
That's what I get about the one-legged dog thing on the wrestler.
Yep. This is the song where he said he's like a one-trick pony, and he truly is. Or
Yeah.
like he felt like it to me because this was one of his like quieter, somber songs, and it's like yeah, it works, but I don't need it. I agree with you. It feels like
It's
a
for the
bonus track.
movie, you know?
Which I really liked. I really liked the
Yeah.
rest of the movie. I didn't know the song goes with it, which is it's fitting. I see it.
It works really well too with how it comes in because it starts the credits after that like moment of blackness where it's like implied that he dies at the end. Spoilers
Yeah.
for the wrestler. Uh, like, and then it comes in where you hear him like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then the acoustic. But I don't really get it outside of that context. I don't think it like matters on an album or just to
No.
listen to. I think it literally just lives and dies by the movie it's in.
Yeah, I think you're right. It should just be bonus track territory.
Yeah. Overall, I think this album needed Outlaw Pete just to give it something intriguing at the jump that the
Yes.
rest of it never lives up to.
Yeah.
Even if some of the songs are actually good, but this was easily like the biggest disappointment. Or no, I can't say that. The River was a bigger disappointment to me because that I always thought was a good album. Where
Yeah.
this, like, I had low expectations, but kind of thought, actually, coming off of Magic and being really surprised how much I liked it now, I thought it was going to keep that momentum up, and it just did not for me. So now that at the start of the episode, we said that you had two albums you thought were worth it from this decade. They were The Rising, and then what was the second one?
Devils and Dust. I thought Devils and Dust was worth it for me. Not again. I can't even be contrarian because I didn't know that people hated it as much as you said until you said it on the episode. So that's like truly like my gut opinion on it. And I don't even really rank it all that high in my ranking of the albums thus far. It's just it sounds different than everything else this decade. Magic and Working on a Dream sound the same. The Rising is a truly great album. I'm not that I'm keeping like that's it. But like if I go back to anything, I'm not going to listen to Magic again. I'm not going to listen to Working on a Dream again. I will try or I could see myself trying Devils and Dust again to see does it work for me in a different context. Like I said earlier, as like the cap on the trilogy of Nebraska and Ghost of Tom Joad. Maybe there's something there that I'm missing that I'd rather go revisit that. Whereas, like, I don't think I'm missing anything with Magic, and I don't think I'm missing anything with Working on a Dream. And Magic was fine, and Working on a Dream was bad. Devils and Dust was hard for me to articulate how I felt about it, which to me makes it intriguing.
Okay, that is an interesting take and well supported.
Yeah,
that's all you can ask.
That's such a That's like something I would say to my students after they give me
I
like
know,
the
that's why I
worst
said it to you.
off the cuff answer, and it's like,
It's like that John Mulaney bit. It's like, college is just like, I think Emily Dickinson's a lesbian. And you're like, whatever, partial credit.
right? Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, listen, I was ready for some hot takes, but I did not see Devils and Dust being above Magic for you.
So let me rephrase. I'm not saying Devils and Dust
I
is above
I do
Magic.
get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You have more intellectual curiosity
Yes.
for it, whereas I felt more like Magic probably wouldn't hit the same again. I think I was just very pleasantly surprised
Gotcha.
returning to it,
Yeah,
whereas Devils and Dust offers me nothing that I want to return to.
that's fair.
And Magic, I'm okay with knowing it probably won't hit me as well again if I tried going back to it, trying to recapture that feeling. But I'm happy with what I got out of it. Devil's Dust gave me nothing.
Yeah, and I can see why it gave you nothing. It's an inaccessible album in a decade, kind of branded on accessibility, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
which is why I find it intriguing.
Like that Bruce kind of like re-enters public conscience with an album about 9/11 and playing the Super Bowl, and still finds time to try just whatever the hell he wants with like another Nebraska or an all folk covers album. But it is cool that he's like trying different stuff. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. It's kind of a microcosm of his whole career in one span of like 7 years.
Yeah. Earlier in the episode, you said that you thought The Rising ushers in a period of generic Bruce and E Street Band.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask for just some clarity.
Yeah.
Do you mean that The Rising is generic, or do you mean that after The Rising, he enters a generic period?
Kind of the E Street albums following The Rising try to recapture The Rising.
Okay.
In that there's stuff about The Rising that's kind of one note and samey, but overall it's good. And I think he keeps trying to go back to that well. And so we just get a lot of same tempo stuff with predictable arrangements to the point where I feel like the E Street Band isn't where he's going to be most creatively inspired anymore because we know all their tricks already.
Yeah.
It's when you include someone new like Susie Tyrell that you start to get something new. And unfortunately, some intrigue comes with some of them dying off. Because when you lose Clarence, it's like, well, who's going to replace him?
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out it's his nephew, Jake, and you're like, how's that going to work?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something to keep you interested again. But overall, once the magic trick is played, it's kind of like, okay, we've seen that.
Gotcha.
Which is why I'm more partial to his bigger swings, which is kind of a spoiler for how I think I feel because I haven't listened to it again yet, and I want to see how I am with it. But the album Western Stars is the only one in the 2010s where it's not with the E Street Band, and it's very different for him. But I had surprising feelings about all three, or the other two albums as well, when I did revisit them. So next time on our Bruce series, we will get into those 3 albums instead of the 5 we just did now.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around and listen to it, and crack open a nice cold Spindrift. You deserve it, and so do I from talking for so long.
I was gonna say I think I'm gonna crack one open once we get off here.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna spit it out in shame because they didn't pay me to say that.
You know what? I think if Bruce made a Spindrift jingle and put it on Devils and Dust, it would rank higher for you, Steven. That's what I think.
Would that make him the sellout or me?
Well, we both know Bruce already sold out. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Filler. If you like what you heard, please rate and review this episode to help others find it. For more recommendations and explorations of media we love, go to afterschoolspecial.xyz. Follow Filler on Blue Sky and email us at fillerpod@gmail.com. See you next time.